This is a Mayluna Media production.
Hey, and welcome to Synaptic Soul, the podcast where science meets spirit, and we get real about the beautiful and brutal and magical mess of being human. I'm your host, Ava Marie Anderson, writer, mystic, multi-dimensional mischief maker. Quick disclaimer, you may hear the occasional snort, sigh, dramatic flop from my two French bulldogs, Rocky and Rambo. They're the soundtracks of my life, my soul companions, and honestly, the real stars of the show. Someday we'll dedicate a full episode to their role in my daily rituals, emotional healing, and wild spiritual life. But for now, just know that they're always close by, snoring their support. Let's dive in. So let me take you back to one of my most what the actual fuck universe moments. So picture this. I had just quit my corporate job, the one with the stable salary and the benefits and the illusion of safety, to go work for the Sage app, making just $3,000 a month in Southern California. Like, that's it. $3,000 a month. I'd also just left my husband with no backup plan and no cushion and no sugar daddy, just me and my stubborn faith and the financial security of a raccoon digging through the trash. And y'all, I hit a point where I had literally $0. Like, not just low balance and not just cutting it close, but I mean zero. Like, bank account on fumes, wallet looking like a desert. Like, I had bills stacked, and the fucking kicker was that I was out of shampoo and conditioner and razors all at the same time. And of course, payday was still like a good 3 weeks away. So that's, 3 weeks without shampoo and conditioner. Like, I wasn't auditioning for a caveman documentary here. But I remember standing in my bathroom, just staring at those empty bottles like they'd betrayed me personally, and my brain did the quick math. Like, I need these multiple times before I see a single dollar, and for one hot second, I felt that deep, panicky, oh shit, what have I done spiral. It's that kind where your chest tightens and your inner critic is like, girl, maybe you should have stayed in corporate hell. But then, and I don't even know why I did this, I took a deep breath and I said out loud, the universe will provide. And then I laughed at myself because, like, really? Like, the universe is gonna swing by Target and grab me some sulfate-free shampoo? Sure, Jan. But I said it, and I let it out, and then I let it go. I shoved it out of my mind, and I moved on with the day. And then later that afternoon, I stopped at this random strip mall, like a totally normal errand run, and out of the bushes, I swear to sweet baby Jesus, pops a woman with two French bulldogs. And if there is ever a way the universe knows how to get my attention, it is with a Frenchie. So she comes over and she asks if she can charge her phone in my car. And of course, me being me, I say yes. And while she plugs in, I pull out my travel water bowl and water bottle that I always keep in a car for my own dogs. And the Frenchies got their thirsty little snorts satisfied. And this woman just looked at me like I saved her entire soul. And then, as a thank you gift, she reaches into her backpack, and what does she pull out? I kid you not. Sulfate-free shampoo, conditioner, and razors. Like, exactly the three things that I had run out of. Exactly the three things I had panicked about. Like, the universe didn't bring me money, but it brought me the exact items that I needed to get through the next few weeks. And now let's be real. I am 99% sure that those products were stolen, but we're not going to look a gift from the universe in the mouth. And that moment cemented something for me. Lucky girl syndrome isn't just about chanting affirmations into your iPhone. It is about that faith-filled breath, that release of panic, and that willingness to laugh at yourself and still trust that maybe, just maybe, you're being held. And it doesn't always look glamorous, and sometimes your abundance comes out of a stranger's backpack in a strip mall parking lot, but it comes. And here's the science part that we're going to unpack in this episode. When you shift your expectation from, oh God, nothing ever works out, to somehow, some way, this is all going to be okay, you literally change your brain chemistry. Your attention filters, and if quantum physics is anything to say about it, the probabilities that collapse into your reality. So my shampoo story wasn't just about luck. It was about psychology. It was physics. It was the nervous system letting go of panic long enough for a synchronicity to sneak in. So today we're going to dive into all of it. Lucky girl syndrome and that brain science behind why it works, and then the quantum physics that makes it feel magical, and also that shadow side you've got to watch out for if you don't want to delude yourself into broke positivity. So grab your coffee, grab your journal, maybe grab a Frenchie if you've got one nearby, because we're going to get juicy. So let's start with the phrase of the hour, lucky girl syndrome. And if you've somehow managed to avoid TikTok for the last year, first of all, congratulations on your sanity. But second, this little trend took over the algorithm with young women filming themselves, iced coffee in hand, saying, everything always works out for me. I am so lucky. And people were eating it up. Like comments flooded in like, oh my God, this actually works. I tried it and I got a free upgrade at Starbucks. Or I said it 3 times and guess what? My ex texted me. You know, the really life-altering manifestations. But let's not side-eye too hard, because under the glitter and the lip gloss, this idea actually taps into something ancient and something woven into the human survival manual since the dawn of time, which is the belief in luck. Like, you think your great-great-grandmother in an old country wasn't clutching a rabbit's foot or whispering prayers to the saints to make sure that her crops didn't wither? Please. Humans have needed hope and ritual and the idea that fortune could be swayed with a little magic. TikTok didn't invent manifestation. They just branded it with better filters and a main character soundtrack. And here's the tea. Lucky girl syndrome isn't really about being lucky. It's about expectancy bias, which is that psychological reality that when you expect things to work out, your nervous system calms down and your brain starts looking for patterns to confirm it, and suddenly you see doors opening that you were blind to before. Like, what the kids are doing with the lucky girl syndrome is actually playing with neuroplasticity. They're rewiring their filters by constantly affirming that I am the kind of person who always wins. And now let me be clear. I didn't need TikTok to teach me this. When I was 16, growing up in small town Arkansas in a house that could have doubled as a trauma factory, I had $40 to my name and 3 outfits to my soul. And I threw them on my body and I got on a Greyhound bus and I rode it all the way to California. Did I know what the hell I was doing? No, not even a little. Did I have a plan? Absolutely not. But what I did have was hope and naive bravado and this bone-deep belief that somehow, some way, it would work out for me. And that's lucky girl syndrome in its raw, unpolished form. It's not about iced coffees and algorithms. It's about the part of you that whispers, maybe, just maybe, this risk won't destroy me. Like, maybe it'll be the thing that actually saves me, and spoiler, it did. So every so-called lucky break in my life can be traced back to that energetic frequency. It wasn't the universe showering me with extra blessings. It was that I was stubborn enough to believe that there were blessings available for me in the first place. And science, bless our nerdy little heart, actually backs this up. So psychologists have studied the so-called lucky personality. And you know what it comes down to? It's people who identify as lucky are usually more open-minded and they take more small risks and they actually notice opportunities that others ignore. So Richard Wiseman, he's a psychologist in the UK, he literally wrote a whole book called The Luck Factor where he broke it all down. Lucky people aren't magically chosen. They are just primed to see and to seize. So when somebody on TikTok says, ever since I started affirming that everything works out for me, I keep getting promotions and dates and surprise free desserts, it is not just the universe raining sprinkles on them. It's that their brain has shifted into a pattern of recognition and readiness. Like, they notice the cute barista smiling because they expect the good things. They see the extra seat upgrade because they're already telling themselves they deserve comfort. And they take the leap and apply for the job because they they believe that they're the type of person things work out for. But let's not forget the ancestral piece, because while modern psychology calls this cognitive bias, our ancestors just called it prayer and ritual and blessing. Like the Irish wore four-leaf clovers, and the Japanese carried amamari charms from the shrines, and the African traditions use amulets and talismans for protection and prosperity, sorry. And even in Christianity, people will tell you favor ain't fair, which means that blessings flow when you expect God's hand in your life. Same concept, different branding. So here's my point. Lucky girl syndrome didn't come out of nowhere. It is that sparkly influencer packaged version of a human truth that is older than civilization itself. When you expect good things, you shift your attention, your energy, and your actions. And when you shift those, reality responds. And you knew about what was coming. This is only the beginning. Because yes, it is cute to affirm into your front-facing camera, but what is really happening inside your brain and the fabric of the universe, that is where the real fun begins. So we're going to unpack the hard neuroscience of how your mind literally curates your luck. And spoiler, your brain is basically a personal TikTok algorithm serving you more of what you engage with. So if you want luck, start swiping on possibility. All right, bro, let's start talking about what's actually happening in your little old noggin when you whisper, everything always works out for me. Because I promise you, it is not just TikTok fairy dust. Your brain is the most bougie filter system ever created. It doesn't just show you reality, it shows you the slice of reality it thinks that you can handle. And guess what determines that slice? Well, whatever you've told it. Meet the reticular activating system, the RAS if you're nasty. It's that bundle of neurons at the base of your brainstem that acts as the bouncer of club consciousness. So out of the billions of sensory inputs flooding you every fucking second, the RAS decides what gets in. And think of it like your brain's TikTok algorithm. Like you double tap on one video of a girl making sourdough bread and suddenly that is all you see. So if you tell your brain, I am so damn lucky, boom, baby, it starts serving up evidence of that luck. Like a parking spot opens up, your boss finally answers your email, and that friend Venmos you the 20 that they forgot they owed you 6 months ago. And this isn't why affirmations are just cheesy Pinterest quotes. Like, they're literal instructions to your RAS. So when you say, I am always in the right place at the right time, your brain does not roll its eyes. It actually starts scanning your environment differently. Like, you notice opportunities that you would have ignored because you told your inner algorithm that luck is relevant data now. And it's not just the RAS. There's also neuroplasticity, which is the sexy science word for your brain can rewire itself. Every time you repeat an affirmation or visualize a win or even just expect good shit to happen, you are strengthening new neural pathways. Like, imagine carving little lucky grooves into your brain. And then over time, those grooves become highways and your default mode shifts from things never work out for me to things always do. And when your default belief changes, your actions follow. So let's also sprinkle in the placebo effect because she is that bitch. Placebo is basically your body saying, oh, you believe this sugar pill is healing you? Cool, I'm going to adjust my chemistry to match. And people have literally grown hair back and reduced pain and improved their mood just because they believed they were receiving the medicine. And that's not woo. That is hard data. So if your cells are willing to rearrange themselves because you thought a pill was helping, why wouldn't they respond when you tell yourself life bends in my favor? And now, all right, here's where it gets fun. Cognitive science gives us some juicy quirks of the mind that explain the lucky girl syndrome even further. So there's the Baader-Meinhof effect, frequency illusion. So if you ever buy a red car and then suddenly see red cars everywhere, the same thing happens when you affirm you're lucky. You notice all the micro wins that you were blind to before, which reinforces the belief. And then you've got confirmation bias. Like, your brain is basically Regina George. It loves to be right. And if you decide that you're lucky, your mind's going to start cherry picking the data to prove it. And even if the day goes to hell, you're focused on the one email that landed you a new lead and ignore the fact that you spilled coffee on your white shirt. And then you've got the self-fulfilling prophecy. This one's my favorite. Like, you expect good shit, so you act in ways that make good shit more likely. You show up to the networking event instead of doom scrolling in bed, and then suddenly you luck into meeting somebody who wants to collaborate. Like, do you see what's happening here? Luck isn't some external blessing that the universe doles out randomly. It is an internal orientation system. You start by feeding your brain the thought, I am lucky. And then your RAS filters reality to show you that lucky data. And then neuroplasticity grooves it in deeper. And then the placebo effect reinforces it on a cellular level, and then your biases keep looping it until it's your lived experience. And here's the SAS check. People who think of themselves as unlucky are just running the same system in reverse. Like, they tell their RAS life is against me, so the bouncer only lets in evidence that proves that. And they notice every missed opportunity and every rejection and every flat tire, and they scroll right past the wins because their brain didn't tag them as important. It's not that their life is objectively worse, it's just that their filter system is tuned into Misery FM. And the nervous system plays a role here too. When you expect good things, your stress hormones lower. Your prefrontal cortex, that whole decision-making queen, it actually works better, which means that you're calmer and clearer and quicker to act when opportunities appear. Like, you ever notice how lucky people seem chill? That's because their nervous systems aren't stuck in fight or flight, so they can recognize and move toward the good without freezing or freaking out. Lucky girl syndrome isn't magic. It's a hack. It is your brain's natural bias toward pattern seeking, expectation, and filtering, just put in service of something that actually makes your life better. That iced coffee affirmation might look silly, but under the hood, that is neuroscience, baby. And now that we've covered the brain, we're going to zoom out even bigger, because while psychology explains the filter system, physics then explains the field. We're going to dive into the quantum mechanics of luck, and spoiler, you're not just reprogramming your brain, you are playing with probability itself. This episode is brought to you in part by one of my most favorite humans on this spinning planet, Morgan Garza, and her book Soul Magic. If you've ever felt like your power was just waiting beneath the surface, or like there's something ancient and electric inside of you ready to be reclaimed, then this is the book that helps you remember. Soul Magic is not just a read, it is a summoning. It's filled with rituals and stories and the kind of grounded spiritual wisdom that doesn't talk at you, it talks with you. Morgan writes like a soul sister, a cosmic cheerleader, and a priestess all rolled into one. And it's a must-have for anyone on the path of awakening, reclaiming. So grab your copy at morgangarza.com or wherever books are sold, or bless someone else's journey and gift it, because real magic's meant to be shared. That's Soul Magic by Morgan Garza. You'll feel it in your bones. All right, bro, we've done the brain science. Now let's zoom out and talk about what the universe is doing while you're over here chanting everything works out for me into your bathroom mirror. Because while your reticular activating system is curating your reality like it is your personal TikTok feed, quantum physics is running the back end like some sort of mysterious, slightly chaotic cosmic code. Because here's the wild truth. At the quantum level, reality doesn't sit still. Like, particles don't have one fixed state, they exist in a soup of probability until something collapses them into a definite thing. And that something is observation, and attention, and consciousness. And physicists call it the observer effect, and it basically means that the act of noticing changes the outcome. So, when you declare, I am always in the right place at the right time, you're not just hyping yourself up. You're orienting your attention in a way that collapses probability into possibility. You're telling the field, this is what I'm available for. Now, Before anybody gets twisted, this doesn't mean that you can sit on your couch binging Real Housewives and collapse a yacht into your driveway. Like, quantum physics does not excuse laziness. What it does mean is that your consistent attention, belief, and action increase the likelihood that certain probabilities, like the lucky ones, will crystallize into your lived reality. So if you want some receipts science actually believes, probability theory tells us that the more chances you give yourself, the more likely you are to get lucky. So the person who applies for 5 jobs might get 1 offer, but the person who applies to 50, way better odds. The one who applies to 50 while believing they're the kind of person who gets hired easily, even fucking better. Because belief plus action isn't just woo. It changes how you show up. It changes how other people perceive you, and it changes the mathematical spread of outcomes that are available. Luck, then, is basically probability plus perspective. You don't need to be chosen by some invisible lottery in the sky. You just need to be in motion and tuned to possibility and willing to leap when the opening appears. And that's where that whole right place, right time energy comes in. But let's also bring in my favorite metaphor, quantum entanglement. This is the phenomenon where 2 particles that were once connected stay mysteriously linked no matter how far apart they are. So if you change one, the other instantly reacts. Now, physicists are still scratching their heads about the why of this happening, but spiritually, we've been talking about this forever. Synchronicity, divine timing, that feeling when you think of a friend and they text you 2 seconds later, or when you get that exact book recommendation that you didn't know you needed from the random stranger in the line in Target. So entanglement shows us that energy moves in webs, not straight lines. So when you're in a lucky girl frequency, your vibe is expectant and open and radiant, and you're more likely to sync up with those entangled threads of opportunity, and it feels like magic, but it's really resonance. You become the tuning fork that hums at the same frequency as that chance encounter, or that open door, or that random miracle. But let me just ground this with example. Think about Alexander Fleming, the guy who discovered penicillin in 1928. Total accident, by the way. He left a petri dish out while he went on vacation, came back, and saw that the mold had killed the bacteria. So, boom, now we have antibiotics. Humanity is saved. Lucky break, right? But here's the thing. Fleming wasn't just some dude leaving dishes out. He was already immersed in microbiology. His attention was primed, and his mind was open to notice the weirdness instead of just throwing the dish away. The probability of discovery collapsed into reality because his brain and his focus and maybe a dash of divine timing were ready. And this is what people mean when they say luck is when preparation meets opportunity. The quantum field is full of probabilities, infinite doors, but if you're closed and distracted or expecting the worst, you don't notice the one cracked open right in front of you. Lucky girl syndrome is basically training yourself to notice and to trust and to walk through it. But let me just have a little sass for a sec. This doesn't mean the universe is your personal Uber Eats. You can't manifest a pizza by affirming it into existence, although I swear I have come really fucking close on late nights. What it does mean is that your frequency and your thoughts and your attention and your nervous system is constantly interacting with probabilities. The more you practice everything works out for me, the more you collapse outcomes where, surprise, surprise, everything fucking does. And let's not forget, being in the right place at the right time sometimes looks like chaos in the moment. You missed the bus? Ooh, maybe that delay saves you from an accident. Or you got ghosted? Maybe that's clearing space for somebody 10 times better. The quantum field doesn't always play by our timelines, but it does play by our resonance. And when your energy is tuned to expectation and openness, you'll find yourself in rooms and conversations and synchronicities that look a hell of a lot like luck. So yeah, your brain is important, but you're also a part of a field of possibility that responds to your vibe. And Lucky Girl Syndrome isn't just psychology, it is physics and probability and a little bit of cosmic flirtation. And speaking of flirtation, in the next segment, we're going to talk about the shadow side, because not every lucky girl is actually lucky. Sometimes she's just spiritually bypassing with a Stanley Cup in her hand. But let's get into what happens when affirmations go toxic and how to keep keep your manifestation practice from becoming straight up delusion. Alright, my dudes, let's talk about this not so cute side of the whole lucky girl thing, because while affirmations and sparkly optimism can be life changing, they can also turn into a spiritual side hustle for denial if you're not careful. And I love you enough to say it, so some of what's floating around on TikTok in the name of manifestation is just bypassing in a pretty outfit. So here's the danger. If you are chanting everything always works out for me, but your bills are stacked in a pile that you are too scared to open, that is not manifestation. That's financial dissociation. And if you're posting your daily affirmations online while ignoring your mental health, that is not quantum alignment. That is toxic positivity with a ring light. And if you're affirming that I am magnetic to abundance while refusing to negotiate your salary or setting boundaries with a friend that drains your wallet, that's not abundance. That is avoidance. And this is where the science checks us. Psychology calls this fantasy bias. So when you get so high off of imagining the dream that you don't actually take action toward. And studies show optimism works best when it's paired with grounded realism. So in other words, it is fabulous to visualize yourself winning the lottery, but your odds aren't going to improve unless you actually buy a ticket. And listen, this is not me trying to kill your vibe. This is me trying to save it, because nothing crushes a manifestation practice faster than reality smacking you in the face. Like, you can affirm checks are on the way, but if the only mail showing up is past due notices, then you're going to spiral into self-doubt. The gap between your affirmation and your reality can actually jack your nervous system if you're not careful. So instead of feeling magnetic, you feel like a fraud. And instead of building faith, you just build shame. And here's the kicker. Your nervous system does not lie. You can trick your brain with affirmations, but if your body feels unsafe and if your cortisol is spiking every time you swipe your fucking debit card, no mantra is going to override that. Your body will still act from fear, which means that your manifestation practice is running on shaky ground. And this is why grounded spirituality matters. In mystic traditions across the globe, manifestation was never just a think it and it appears thing. It was a prayer plus ritual, belief plus sacrifice, intention plus action. Indigenous cultures understood that you didn't just ask the earth for corn. You also planted the seeds and tended the soil and danced for rain. And lucky girl syndrome without accountability is like trying to harvest crops from a field that you never watered. And then here's also the equity piece, which a lot of TikTok conveniently skips over. It is easy to affirm everything works out for me when you have generational wealth and a support system, or at least a fucking safety net. For people carrying trauma and systemic oppression or poverty, manifestation isn't just a cute morning ritual, it is a radical act of survival. We can't pretend affirmations erase social reality. What they can do, though, is shift your inner landscape so that you're resourced enough to navigate those realities with more resilience. But that only works if we're being honest about the work required, not bypassing it. And don't even get me started on the shame spiral some folks fall into when their manifestations don't work. Like, if you've ever thought maybe I didn't believe hard enough or maybe it's my fault, let me release you now. You are not a failure because your affirmation didn't instantly cash a check. That is not how physics or psychology works. Sometimes the timeline is longer. Sometimes the opportunity comes in disguise. And sometimes the manifestation is actually you learning patience and grit. Like, the idea that you're not aligned enough is spiritual gaslighting, and I'm not here for it. I'll tell you that right now. But here's what works better. Optimistic realism. Hold the mantra and the mailbox. Affirm your abundance while you set up a budget. And believe that you're magnetic while you also rest when your body says, I don't know, rest. Visualize love when you go to therapy to unpack why you keep dating human red flags. That's the sweet spot, where belief fuels action and then action reinforces belief. Because manifestation isn't about controlling reality. It's about collaborating with it, and collaboration means that you also show up and do your part, and then you let the field do the rest. Lucky girl syndrome works when it like inspires that collaboration, and it backfires when it convinces you that positive vibes alone are the whole job. So yeah, affirmations are powerful, but if you're manifesting yachts while dodging your landlord's text, I'm going to lovingly tell you to sit down and make a damn plan, because magic plus action is manifestation. Magic without action is just daydreaming, which is going to bring us to the final segment. Like, how do you actually integrate all of this? How do you become the kind of person who feels lucky and acts lucky and then backs it up with receipts? And that's where we're headed next. The rituals and the science-backed hacks and the real-world strategies for being that quantum lucky bitch. This episode is supported in part by Sage app, aka the app that's basically a metaphysical multivitamin. It's like having a spiritual sanctuary in your pocket minus the incense smoke in your purse. It's also where I host my new moon manifestation clubs, which, if you know, you know, we go deep. So if you're ready to stop doom scrolling and start soul scrolling, download Sage in the App Store or Google Play and then step into a more intentional, magical version of your day. That's SAGED, like Sage, but with an app. Back to the episode. So we've flirted with TikTok, we've unpacked the neuroscience, and we've played in the quantum field, and we've also even called out the shadow side. So now it's time for us to get practical, because theory is cute, yeah, but I want you walking out of this episode feeling like a certified quantum lucky bitch with science and spirit and the actual fucking steps to back it up. So here's the golden formula. Expectancy bias plus grounded action plus nervous system regulation plus openness to synchronicity. Like, that's it. It is a 4-part cocktail that turns everything works out for me from a hashtag and into a lived reality. So let's break it down. So first is expectancy bias. This is your lucky girl syndrome starter pack. It's the belief, no, the decision that things are lining up in your favor. It doesn't mean that you're delusional. It means that you choose to tilt your perception toward possibility, and history shows us this over and over. Like, think Alexander Graham Bell, whose lucky break with the telephone came after countless failed prototypes. He expected it would work eventually, so he kept tinkering. Expectancy bias kept his eyes open to the opportunities instead of shutting them down at setback number 47. And the second thing you need to do, grounded action. Manifestation without movement it's just daydreaming. Like, if you want money, apply for the jobs and pitch your work and send the fucking invoice. And if you want love, swipe, join that salsa class, actually talk to humans. If you want peace, then set boundaries and book therapy and close the laptop at 10 p.m. And the probability of your manifestation is going to skyrocket the moment you put yourself into the rooms and the conversations and the environments where luck can actually find you. And as probability theory reminds us, the more chances taken means the more chances to win. The third thing, it's your homegrown nervous system regulation. Like, this is the piece almost every TikTok skips. If your body doesn't feel safe holding the good things, you're gonna sabotage them. You're gonna blow up that relationship and overspend that raise and procrastinate on the dream project. Luck requires capacity. The universe can hand you a blessing, but if your nervous system is still running on fight or flight, you're not going to trust it enough to keep it. And this is where practices like breath work and somatic therapy and meditation and walking barefoot in the grass come in. Shit, just even going to the gym and moving your body, it expands your window of tolerance so that you can actually hold the blessings that you've been manifesting without the short-circuiting. And the fourth and final is openness to synchronicity. This is that spiritual cherry on top. Like, lucky people aren't just prepared and calm, they're also playful. They say yes to the random invites. They talk to the strangers. They let the universe surprise them. And this is where entanglement theory becomes like lived reality. When you're open, you notice the coincidences. You follow the breadcrumbs. You trust that being in the right place at the right time doesn't always mean grinding harder. Sometimes it just means being willing to pivot when life whispers over here, babe. Now let me just sprinkle in a few practical rituals because I know you love the receipts. So there's a morning I am lucky audit. Before you even touch your phone, write down 3 things that worked out for you yesterday, last week, last year, whatever. This conditions your brain to expect more of it, like gratitude, but make it quantum. And then do a micro risk practice once a day. Take a tiny risk that you would usually overthink. Like send the DM, apply for the grant, introduce yourself to the person next to you. Each one expands your probability spread. Anchor your body. When something good happens, even small, pause and breathe and actually feel it in your body for 20 seconds. This tells your nervous system that it is safe to hold the good things, and that's how you wire luck into your cells. And also document your magic. Like keep a lucky bitch log. Write down every synchronicity and blessing or win, no matter how small. This not only trains your RAS to notice more, but it gives you proof on the days that you feel like the universe forgot your address. And then don't forget the social piece. Surround yourself with people who believe in their own luck. So, social contagion is real. When you hang out with folks who assume good things happen, your mirror neurons start copying that pattern. And lucky energy is contagious. And let me also give you the hard truth. Luck sometimes wears ugly shoes. The thing that feels like rejection may be what redirects and saves your ass. The missed flight might be divine timing. The breakup might be the prelude to the real love. Quantum luck isn't about controlling the outcomes. It's about trusting the weave. So when you see those TikToks of girls saying everything always works out for me, don't just roll your eyes. Don't just copy them blindly either, though. Take the wisdom behind it, rewire your brain, expand your body's safety, take the fucking actions, and stay open to those weird, sparkly breadcrumbs of synchronicity. This is how you go from #lucky to quantum lucky bitch with receipts. And here's the last wink. You're already luckier than you think. Like, you've survived 100% of your worst days so far. You are literally listening to this podcast, which means that you have internet, curiosity, and at least a tiny little sliver of hope left. And that's not nothing. That's the foundation. And now let's build on it. If you loved this episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button and leave us a glowing review. It helps more beautiful souls like you find this space. Because your words matter, your energy ripples, and every review is like a little spell of support for the Synaptic Soul mission. So until next time, stay curious, stay cosmic, and keep waking the F up.